Where is the Norman Mailer Writers Colony, and what took place there during its inaugural summer of 2009? It's in Provincetown, at the northern reach of Cape Cod, where artists came to paint the light, as Mailer once noted. Writers came also: Eugene O'Neill, John Dos Passos, Tennessee Williams, Susan Glaspell, Stanley Kunitz, Mary Oliver, and Norman Mailer, who wrote all or part of 30 books there. When he died, his wife Norris and friend Lawrence Schiller started a writers' colony in his name. Mailer had always expressed an interest in promoting writing and writers, whom he considered an endangered species. Of the more than 50,000 letters he wrote, thousands were written to writers unknown to him who had questions about their craft. A year after his death, 476 people applied to the Norman Mailer Writers Colony, among them emerging and accomplished writers, students, teachers, and scholars. 7 month-long fellowships were awarded, and 42 week-long scholarships were given. They came from India, Ireland, France, and all over the United States, arriving by ferry, car, and plane to spend a week or a month in solitude and in groups no larger than 7, pilgrims to a new colony.
I was nervous because the other writers seemed much more accomplished than I was, and I was nervous about that.
I came here with a particular aim, which is to up my game as a writer. I've had good success in Ireland, but I've never been published outside of Ireland.
They ranged in ages from 17 to 60. They participated in week-long workshops in fiction, memoir writing, poetry, journalism, historical research, and editing. They attended readings, joined discussions, and worked individually with a distinguished faculty.
As a writer, you need to be able to break that faith in what's already printed here on the page and to be able to see how could it be done in a different way.
The Mailer Fellowships gave gifted writers the opportunity to complete their works in progress. And one of the unique features of the colony is that all of the activities take place in Mailer's house, the only home of a world-class author to ever open its doors to aspiring writers in an educational setting.
And then but the mothers and fathers have different...
I didn't expect to have the workshops in the living room. And you're not often in the home of the writer. You're usually in a university setting. And I don't think any other writing workshop that I've participated in has come close to comparing to this experience.
I wanted to be in the same place this man had been and see if maybe some of his magic would rub off on me and make me a little brave. And he wasn't afraid to take a stand.
Yes, we do care more about writing and the value of words and the freedom of our expression than we care about our lives. And that means that we are religious. We have a faith. And this faith is the value and the freedom of words.
When they first arrived, they were told that what Key West was to Hemingway, Provincetown was to Mailer, and they were given a tour of his private working life.
I can't remember if he talked about having to walk up the stairs with the canes, and he would still do that towards the end of his life, just go up there and work for 10 hours. I was really excited to go up into the writing room, and just, you can feel him in there,
To see how he wrote, where he wrote, and as a writer to see how he organized his research. That was a real revelation, and I felt like he was giving me some secrets.
What struck me was that he has a chair there, and the casters on the chair have worn a track in the floorboards from the amount of hours spent at that desk. That, to me, sort of brings the man into much clearer focus than an awful lot of profiles or anything, because I can touch and smell and see, and I can see the human side of the endeavor.
Why do I look upon writing as this is my task as a writer? Because I want to be virtuous too. And this is the way in which I'm virtuous. If I extend human understanding, then that's the most virtuous act I am capable of.
Once settled in nearby condos or a secluded shack in the distant dunes of Provincetown, the participants shared the unique experience of listening, learning, and writing in the same spaces where Mailer had worked.
Is this Norman's chair? Is it okay to sit in it?
Yeah.
So I had just finished a novel before I got here, and then so I wanted to take a break from that and start something new.
Having no one else to talk to, your thoughts just sort of get louder, and you're able to kind of sort of live in this narrative space where you're sort of writing in your head all day because there's nothing else competing with your actual work.
I walked down the street. Eugene O'Neill was here. I read Annie Dillard, The May Trees. I love the idea of walking in the same place and eating at the same restaurants where these people whose art I really admired, where they did the same thing.
Yeah, whether it's taking a walk on the beach in the morning or just smelling the smell of the ocean in the air when you walk down Commercial Street, this is a really special place.
A great place to connect with people, but then also a real breather, which has been great for me personally. I have 2 small children, so it was very nice to have some time on my own.
During the 16 weeks of summer, the colony brought the participants in contact with some of the most admired and sought-after writers, editors, publishers, and literary critics.
Don DeLillo came out and, was amazingly generous and honest and generous with his time with us, and just answered with, surprisingly little ego and just incredibly clearly how he works, how he writes.
You do not greet a God meekly. You will not be accepted if you are in between.
After hours and days of working on their stories, novels, plays, or poems, they had the opportunity to share their work and receive constructive feedback.
I was thinking about exposition. What do you say in the first chapter? It's just always so hard for me, and I know for a lot of people to know. Yeah. What does the reader need to know right away? What do they need to know on page 1? What do they need to know by the end of page 20?
We weren't holding back any punches. We kind of, it's sort of useless if we have kind of a kiss-ass session. So I think we gave it, we gave our opinions to everybody, like everything they wanted to, or they didn't want to hear. I mean, we weren't. It was no holds barred in that room.
But do you? Here's somebody else. Here's another person. You know why you were in those places, why you were there, why you were traveling, right?
Or maybe you don't.
And there was somewhere in the middle. There was a line that said something like, "That summer in India, I was different," and I found myself thinking, "Oh, is that what this is about?"
But if I could play, hard-ass agent or publisher in New York, can you give me the 30-second or the 1-minute summary of where I should be at the end of this? What I should have learned about you, what I should have learned about this situation, what I should have learned about Israel, what I should have learned.
If only a molecule or two of the aura of distinction and attainment that's here stuck to you, you go back like that classic image of the Irish poet W.B. Yeats when he returns from his trip to America, looking well padded with dollars in a splendid coat. You feel that you've moved in a higher orbit for a while. So maybe it's like the guys who went to the moon and came back. You're hoping you can keep your head, but it's certainly been a trip and a buzz.
If you're a writer, what you're trying to do is you're always trying to work in that no man's land, that undefined area where more can be discovered about human nature. We spend our lives trying to find the answers to simple questions that other people can't bear to look at. Do I love my wife? Does she really love me? How much do we love each other? Would I die for my wife? Would she die for me? When I come to my children, would I die for my children? Would my children die for me? We live with these questions all the time. We live them because the answers are not that simple. They're complex. The novelist lives in this quivering, wavering world of questions that the novelist can rescue from the wholly ambiguous into some area of possible answer. And then as time goes on, the possible answer shifts. And they begin to study the fluctuations and variations and the complexities and the perversities in people and the odd turns of human nature.